Hello everyone, and welcome to my Bold and Beautiful Gossips 24 channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Taylor collapses when Ridge cancels engagement. Is this a broken heart syndrome setback? According to the Bold and the Beautiful spoilers, Taylor Hayes may be devastated by Ridge Forresters' decision to end their engagement. Will Ridge's decision to choose Brooke Logan result in a setback from broken heart syndrome? BNB readers will remember that when Rebecca Budig originally arrived as a Taylor recast, some medical drama took center stage. Taylor thought she had heart failure until Grace Buckingham discovered she had broken heart syndrome instead. Of course, Ridge did his best to help Taylor on her healing journey, but now he's going to injure her in the worst way conceivable. Instead of following all of his promises to Taylor, Ridge appears to be preparing to cancel their engagement and dash her hopes for a happy ending. Taylor believed Ridge's devotion to her this time. Or so she told herself and everyone else. Perhaps Taylor knew deep down that Ridge and Brooke would reunite. Nonetheless, Taylor will be devastated to learn that Ridge and Brooke still have a future together. Taylor will receive updates on the chaos in Italy, including the fact that Ridge kissed Brooke following the Wildwater rescue. There's a chance Taylor may tell Ridge they can still fix it. It's easy to envision Taylor clinging to their connection out of desperation, pretending as if Ridge was caught up in the moment when he saved Brooke. However, Ridge's mind appears to be made up now that he has almost lost the love of his life. It was a stark reminder of Ridge's priorities, and Brooke is at the top. Ridge will undoubtedly apologize and try to let Taylor down gently, but she will still take the news very hard. Could Taylor have a broken heart syndrome setback and collapse right in front of Ridge? That would only make Ridge feel worse about what he's putting Taylor through, so stay tuned to watch how this heartbreak affects her. Whatever the situation may be, the Bold and the Beautiful spoilers indicate that Taylor will need to find a way forward without Ridge now that he has recommitted to Brooke. Take a look at this fresh couple. If there's one person who does not want this to happen, it's Ridge Forrester. Check out this brand new couple. Of course, we're talking about a prospective pairing between Bill Spencer and Taylor Hayes on the Bold and the Beautiful now that Ridge Forrester and Brooke Logan are back together, right? Taylor Hayes is now a free agent, thus it would be logical for her to sign with someone like Bill Spencer, while simultaneously making Ridge's head explode. This is not something he would take lightly. It goes without saying that BNB fans had something to say about the situation on social media. Some have stated, "This is intriguing. I would like it if he loves her madly as she deserves. I admire Lee, she occasionally breaks the rules. But they may be a power pair. Should Taylor and Bill get together?" Another critic commented, "I have nothing against the actress, but I just can't get used to her as Taylor. She is completely unsuitable for the post, so I simply cannot. I stopped watching after she was cast, and they began doing absurd stuff with Luna. I was out." There was also this comment, "I've always liked Rebecca as an actress," that said, "I honestly don't see the chemistry with her and any of the existing male leads." Ridge performs CPR and kisses Brooke. The Bold and the Beautiful recap for Wednesday, August 6th, finds Ridge Forrester doing CPR and kissing Brooke Logan before promising to make things right. Ridge was responsible for swimming to the unconscious Brooke in the water when Nick Marone lost consciousness due to a mishap on his boat. Ridge was able to move Brooke over to a different vessel and obtain some assistance getting her on board. Brooke wasn't breathing at this time, so Ridge started chest compressions and tried to breathe life back into her lungs. Meanwhile, Brooke saw a dazzling light and envisioned herself on the beach with Ridge. Ridge kissed Brooke passionately after she sputtered out the water and returned to him. Ridge also swore to never take Brooke for granted again, and that they would make things right. While Donna Logan Forrester and Katie Logan were discussing Brooke and the potential of Nick proposing, they became concerned about Brooke's lack of social media posts and hoped everything was fine. At the Spencer estate, Liam Spencer continued to explain to Hope Logan the distinction between Nasty Reese Buckingham and Grace Buckingham, who was an angel. Grace told Finn at the hospital on Wednesday's BNB episode that Liam actually had a brain bleed, which gave her the opportunity to fake his tumor. This included giving Liam medications that would cause his symptoms and lead him to the bogus miracle therapy. Grace discussed understanding that Bill Spencer was Liam's father and convincing him to undergo the experimental surgery following all of the Luna Nozawa turmoil. Although Grace exaggerated her sob tale about the bookies who were threatening her and her girls, Finn was furious at the anguish her deception had caused. Grace also lied to Finn, which made him even more unhappy about the situation. Finn yelled about the $1 million and how Grace had compromised her integrity. However, Grace insisted that Liam was well and hoped Finn would agree to keep the news between them. Finn balked at Grace's request for him to cover for her, but she begged for his silence and pushed him to forgive her for what she'd done. In a devastating and emotionally charged twist on The Bold and the Beautiful, the fallout from Ridge Forrester's impulsive decision to reunite with Brooke Logan reaches catastrophic levels as Taylor Hayes suffers a physical and emotional collapse, triggering a terrifying medical emergency that may be linked to her previously diagnosed. Longtime viewers will recall the eerie echoes of Taylor's previous health crisis, when she mistook her symptoms for heart failure, only to have Grace Buckingham eventually diagnose her with stress-induced cardiomyopathy, also known as Takotsubo or broken heart syndrome. At the time, Ridge had stepped in as her steadfast emotional anchor, promising her a future, pledging loyalty, and rekindling what she believed was their long-awaited fairy tale ending. Taylor clung to that faith with all she had, telling herself and those around her, particularly Steffi, that Ridge was completely devoted this time. But deep down, Taylor couldn't shake the nagging feeling that Ridge and Brooke's gravitational pull toward each other could be too great to resist. That unspoken dread becomes devastating reality when Ridge, fresh from rescuing Brooke from near death in the Mediterranean Sea, performs CPR on her lifeless body, revives her with a breath of life, and a kiss, and rediscovers a truth he can no longer deny. Brooke is and always has been the love of his life. Ridge's reunion with Brooke becomes unavoidable in a moment of emotional clarity, while Taylor's engagement is declared null and void following a sea-soaked epiphany. Taylor, fully uninformed of the Mediterranean pandemonium and Ridge's life-changing rescue mission, is taken aback when he returns to Los Angeles and delivers the devastating news. Ridge, in his normal manner, attempts to lessen the blow by telling Taylor how much she means to him, how appreciative he is for her compassion and strength, and how he will always care for her. But none of that matters once he says it. He's breaking off the engagement. He's heading back to Brooke. Taylor feels the pain like a freight train, her pulse racing and her breath catching as she recovers from emotional whiplash. All of her dreams, of a wedding, a future with Ridge, and a happy ending that had been decades in the making, collapse in front of her. Her body starts to betray her. Dizziness comes in, her eyesight blurs, and her knees buckle. Taylor collapses directly in front of Ridge, gripping her chest in agony. Panic develops as Ridge cries for aid, fearing the worst. Memories flood his thoughts, including her earlier panic, diagnosis, and warnings. He kneels alongside her, terrified that his rejection could have actually crushed her heart. Paramedics arrive, and Taylor is taken to the hospital, where physicians work to stabilize her vital signs and do tests to determine whether she has had a cardiac episode as a result of stress and emotional trauma. Back at the hospital, Grace Buckingham, ironically, the one who first diagnosed Taylor's broken heart syndrome, is summoned for a consultation, forcing her to confront the potential damage Ridge's deception has caused. Finn, who is already hurting from Grace's complicity in the Liam tumor hoax, is torn between his rage at Grace's manipulation and his medical oath to cure Taylor, who is more than a patient. She is also a family friend and Finn's mother-in-law. Steffi arrives in a blaze of emotion, upset over her mother's condition, and enraged at her father. She questions why Ridge would destroy Taylor again, reopening old wounds after everything Taylor has been through. Ridge, visibly shaken and emotionally devastated, attempts to explain that his actions were not about betrayal, but about clarity. He could no longer hide his feelings for Brooke. But Steffi isn't interested in justification. All she sees is her mother lying unconscious, the victim of Ridge's never-ending back and forth with the two women he claims to love. Meanwhile, Brooke, unaware of the full scope of the destruction, reaches out to Ridge with cautious hope, thinking they may rebuild their lives now that fate, and the ocean, has brought them together. While Ridge is consumed by remorse over Taylor's collapse, rumors circulate about a possible romantic diversion that may rock the Forrester family to its heart. With Ridge once again selecting Brooke, Taylor, if she recovers, may finally accept the notion of moving on with someone who cherishes her above all else. Enter Bill Spencer. The infamous mogul, who has just been burnt by love, finds qualities in Taylor that he previously overlooked, including resilience, grace, beauty, intelligence, and most importantly, the intense loyalty that Ridge continues to take for granted. What begins as a random encounter at Il Giardino quickly turns into an unexpected connection. Bill, impressed by Taylor's sincerity and fortitude, provides her the kind of straightforward company she's never had before. Unlike Ridge, Bill is straightforward, decisive, and unburdened by years of love ambivalence. He sees Taylor for who she is and he likes what he sees. Their flirting inspires immediate interest on social media, as B&B fans engage in heated conversations about this unexpected pairing. Some cheer for the upheaval, excited at the prospect of Ridge finally facing the consequences of his emotional trauma, while others remain dubious, unsure whether Bill and Taylor have genuine connection, or if this is simply a rebound wrapped in high-stakes drama. The chemistry argument is further exacerbated by internet comments to Taylor's current portrayal, with some fans refusing to accept the new actress in the part. While many people admire Rebecca Budig's emotional depth and nuance, others desire for the original portrayal, citing a gap between Taylor's storied background and her current demeanor. Regardless, the plot thrusts Taylor back into the spotlight, with a life-changing decision looming. Will she choose to recuperate in silence, escaping the pain and public humiliation, or will she emerge from her hospital bed stronger than ever and reclaim control of her future? Bill, for his part, makes no secret of his attraction, addressing Ridge directly in a smoldering conflict at Forrester Creations. Ridge, still tormented by Taylor's demise, is astounded by Bill's arrogance, and extremely disturbed by the prospect of losing Taylor to his lifelong nemesis. The thought of Bill holding Taylor's hand and offering her stability, love, and respect gnaws at Ridge's ego, even as he recommits to Brooke. Ridge clearly wants both women's affection, but he is quickly losing Taylor's. Meanwhile, outraged and drained, Steffi approaches her father again, this time as a woman who understands the consequences of betrayal. She reminds Ridge that if Taylor does not recover and the collapse becomes fatal or permanently damaged, he will have to live with the repercussions. Taylor's diagnosis is confirmed. Another attack of stress-induced cardiomyopathy, most likely caused by emotional trauma. Grace verifies that the illness is reversible, but only with time, emotional support, and a complete lack of future pain. Ridge may not be able to provide that, especially if Brooke is hovering nearby, determined to reconstruct their lives. Taylor awakens in a private moment at the hospital and discovers Bill sitting by her bedside. He is cool, composed, protective, and shockingly vulnerable. He assures her that she does not need Ridge for love, validation, or a future. Taylor, tears in her eyes, expresses gratitude to him. For the first time in years, she does not feel like a second choice. Back at the Spencer estate, Liam tells Hope about the commotion surrounding his father's pursuit of Taylor. Hope, still shaken by the recent disclosures of Grace Buckingham's medical swindle involving Liam's fictitious tumor, cautions Liam to tread carefully. Grace, meantime, is still pleading with Finn to keep her secret hidden, fearful of the professional and legal ramifications. But Finn, tired of the deception and horrified by the devastation that has already occurred, ultimately tells her that he needs more time to make a decision. Grace's deception now threatens to collide with Ridge's emotional bomb, resulting in a perfect storm of medical emergencies, romantic treachery, and moral quandaries for the Forrester and Spencer families. As the dust settles, Ridge finds himself at a crossroads. He has Brooke in his arms again, but Taylor's collapse haunts him. Bill looms as a fresh, unforeseen threat, not merely to Ridge's ego, but also to his hold on the hearts of the women he's taken for granted for decades. Taylor is no longer waiting for Ridge to change. She's waking up to a new reality, one in which she may finally prioritize herself. It is unclear whether she will pursue that route alone, or with someone like Bill Spencer. But one thing is certain. Taylor Hayes is not done with this narrative yet. She may be broken, but she is not defeated. Ridge may have lost more than he imagined. The bold and the beautiful devolves into heartbreaking drama as Taylor Hayes confronts the full force of betrayal when Ridge Forrester, the man who once promised her forever, abruptly cancels their engagement following a soul-stirring reunion with Brooke Logan, triggering not only a psychological collapse, but also a terrifying resurgence of her previously diagnosed broken heart syndrome. The news hits Taylor like a thunderclap, unexpected but all too familiar, repeating the painful rhythm of a pattern that has haunted her for over 3 decades. Ridge repeatedly choosing Brooke, despite every commitment to the contrary. Taylor, now played by Rebecca Budig, only recently recovered from a crippling health scare that she initially mistook for heart failure, only to discover, thanks to Grace Buckingham's clinical insight, that she was suffering from Takotsubo cardiomyopathy, a rare but serious condition known colloquially as broken heart syndrome, caused by extreme emotional stress. Though she recovered with Ridge's care and comfort, she now faced the horrible irony of her heart breaking again. This time for him. Taylor had dared to believe they were meant for the life they never had, safe, secure, and full with hard-earned love. After investing every ounce of hope, every single dream in the prospect that Ridge would finally be hers to keep. She pictured wedding bells, mixed family dinners, and a future with her children and grandkids under one roof, all with Ridge by her side. But underlying her confidence lay a faint dread, an unspoken concern that Brooke Logan, Ridge's perpetual temptation, still wielded power that no engagement ring could eradicate. That worry becomes tangible when Ridge, fresh from Italy, sits across from her with weary eyes and says, "We need to talk." Taylor knows right away. Her chest tightens before he even says the words. He describes the events with detached reverence. Brooke fell into the Mediterranean. He went in after her, administered CPR, and felt something in her touch, kiss, and breath that hallowed, agonizing clarity that he would never stop loving her. Ridge saw the rescue as a symbolic rebirth of the only love he'd ever fully understood. And in Brooke's wet scream for oxygen, he found a cause to let leave of the life he was trying to build with Taylor. But for Taylor, this isn't clarity, it's grief. Her body begins to quiver, her heart hammering furiously in her chest as she struggles to make sense of the treachery, the injustice, and the final, cruel slap from a man who had begged her to believe he had changed. As Ridge reaches for her, Taylor backs away, falls, clutches her chest, and collapses in anguish before him. Ridge yells her name, and catches her as she falls. In that moment, the confident architect of his new life is reduced to a scared, weeping man clutching the lady he has just killed. EMTs are called. Paramedics rush in. Taylor is unresponsive, with a feeble pulse and shallow breathing. Ridge cradles her lifeless body. Memories of her prior encounter with death flood his mind. The hospital, the diagnosis, and the weeping promises to never hurt her again. Now he's done exactly what experts warned would be fatal. He's emotionally destroyed her. As Taylor is wheeled into the emergency room at University Hospital, a melancholy atmosphere creeps in. Her son-in-law, John Finnegan, is paged immediately and arrives to be overwhelmed with a surge of contradictory emotions. Already enraged by Grace Buckingham's recently exposed scam involving Liam Spencer's bogus tumor, an elaborate, $1 million deception fueled by greed and desperation, Finn is now tasked with overseeing Taylor's care while internally conflicted with his disgust for Grace, who once saved Taylor but now represents betrayal. When Grace comes at the hospital for a heart consultation, despite Finn's reservations, the tension is evident. Grace checks Taylor and confirms everyone's worst fears. She has a recurrence of stress-induced cardiomyopathy, most likely caused by intense emotional trauma. It's another example of shattered heart syndrome, this time more severe. Taylor's vital signs are stable, but her emotional state remains critical. Steffi Forrester comes into the hospital like a hurricane, her face filled with wrath and grief. She approaches Ridge with unbridled rage, demanding to know how he could do this to her mother again, how he could trap her in another cycle of illusion and abandonment. Ridge's answer is pitiful. He tries to justify his actions with language of clarity and fate, but Steffi is having none of it. "You don't get to call it fate when you've spent your life dangling two women on a string," she exclaims, tears flowing down her cheeks. Ridge is saddened, guilt-ridden, and shaken, not only by Taylor's collapse, but also by the potential that she will never forgive him. As Taylor lies unconscious in the ICU, news spreads like wildfire throughout the Forrester and Spencer families, but what surprises everyone is the sight of an unexpected guest at her bedside. William Spencer.